Hello, my name's Cole, and today I'm going to be discussing this right here, which is my Coding for Art project. I will be discussing the design of the project, the construction, and then finally the code that makes it all work.
Alright, starting off with part 1, which is design. Right here is my original Illustrator file. In the corners of each of the layers you can see bolt holes, and then specifically up here at the top you'll see where the base of the LEDs reside. Additionally, with a small piece of paper made exactly like the top one, but it has slightly smaller holes to keep the LEDs in. And then down at the bottom you have the top layer, which will have the tips of the LEDs, and then it also has tape across each LED to keep it intact, and then the yellow squares you'll see are simply just for aesthetics. Going on to part 2, which is the construction. We started off with these little paper displays of what it's going to look like when it's laser cut. This is just to make sure that the LEDs fit and the bolts fit and everything's getting good to size. Then we got our LEDs to start playing around with, which I did a bit of code while waiting on this, which is the laser cut files, which I think look very nice and are the basis of the final project. Then I got the piece of paper just to make sure the LEDs fit in, and then we got the LEDs situated in there. They look all nice, and this is what it looks like with the LEDs on inside of the paper and all that. Afterwards, I figured that it would probably look better and be easier to read with a little diffuser, so I got a sheet of paper and put it on top, and it looks pretty good. This is the first ever, or second ever program I made, where it just shows in rainbow colors which numbers each LED is in its array. And then finally I replaced the paper with a 3D printed two-piece part that has tape on it because I couldn't find a good way to get it together, and it was quite the process to get it on there and looking good. But I'm pretty happy with the result, and I think it looks way better than paper. Okay, we're going on to part 3, which is the code. Starting off, this is the setup part of the code. Up here is where it includes all the libraries such as NeoPixel, and DS3231 is the real-time clock. Down here is where we put our variables, for example, minutes, hours, previous hour, all that stuff. Over here is where we set up the strips and the RTC to start working and to show all the LEDs, and also set the RTC's time. And then finally down here is where the arrays of the LEDs are all set, so that when I call set number, which we'll see at the end, it will actually know, it'll call the same LED for each of the arrays. Right here is the loop area. Up here is where we're just setting up strip.clear. Basically, we'll clear all the old LEDs, and then previous second, previous hour are we reset those variables which are used to tell when the hour and seconds change. And then down here is where we will blink every time the second changes, and then a bit below that right here is where it will change the middle blinking dots to either red for AM or blue for PM. Alright, moving on to this little animation I made. It was initially just a move on the hour animation, but for some reason that code just never worked. So it is now a startup animation, and it looks really cool when the clock is first powered on. Right here is the set number part of the code, where the 0 is the first array and 3 is the fourth array. And then the main part of this is for the last two arrays. If it is a number lower than 10, it'll put a 0 for clarity. And then this also helps to tell whether PM is true or false, and just format the time so it's all looking correctly. Okay, so right here is the actual set number function. Basically, it just takes the array that you want to set the number, and then the number you actually want to set it, and it will set it to that. And then most of it uses if not LED, because most of the LEDs it has are on, but the number 1 actually has more LEDs off than on, so it uses if not LED, then it will set those ones to on, just so it can do it in an easier way. Right here is the wiring diagram I made. Basically, the amount of dots is kind of the number, but except one will actually be numbered 0. So I just did this. The yellow lines follow the ones on the LED, and then the red is the bridges over. Going on to part 4, which is animations and videos. Right here is a video of the numbers counting up, so you can kind of see what they look like all at once. And then right here is a video of the blinking dot while it's AM, and then here's one while it's PM where it's blue. And then finally right here is the video of the third animation which is the startup one. Okay, so that is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to making many more projects just like this one. Thanks for watching.